Thank you.
Morning.
Well, good morning. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful,
Ruben,
wonderful. I'm doing fine.
Is that Ruben I see?
Ruben, I don't see him yet. That is Alex, I believe. Tammy, how are you this morning? Yes, it is.
Good morning. All is well, President Francis. I hope you enjoyed your birthday.
Morning, morning. Thank you, thank you. Falpi,
Hey, what you say?
could you please drop by the office
got for
today
me?
for me, please? Something
Okay,
good.
how much you have? Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah?
How much,
Oh, that sounds good.
how much you need?
Boy, sounds good to me.
All right.
Now, Madam President, do I see your pin?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do I see your pin? Do you have on
Yes,
your
you
pin?
do. Big and bright. I
Where
wish
is it?
I put on the brightest one,
Okay.
so I don't get a fine.
Not for that.
Morning, Melanie. How are you?
Morning. How are you? I'm good, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you all.
Good, good.
Father
What?
P, you behaving yourself?
No, you wouldn't recognize me if I did. So I just want you to be able to recognize me. But she's enjoying it.
Morning, HD. She didn't hear me. Morning.
Everybody's asleep.
She's making coffee.
Oh, she's making coffee.
Morning, Felix.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
HD caller.
Morning.
How are you?
Well,
Good, good. Barry, good morning. Good to see you.
Morning.
Come on, Barry. Sound a little more enthusiastic than that.
Morning.
Hey. Morning.
This sound like the Sunset Club.
Rather than sunrise.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong Zoom, I believe.
Oh, wow.
for us,
Good morning again, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning,
Time to bring
President.
the meeting to call. Morning, morning. Eric.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning, President Latoya. And all those whom I have not saying good morning to us yet.
good
So
morning.
now we can call to order. We will invite the invocation by Rotarian Sharia.
Good morning, everyone. O God, and giver of all good, we thank thee for our daily food. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us to serve. O God, and giver of all good, we thank thee for our daily food. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us to serve thee all our days. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. The Loyal Toast, Rotarian Alex.
I've been lost for words today. I'm devastated, hurt, sad, mad. We want justice for Brianna. If justice was meant for her neighbors, apartment blocks, and not for her beautiful land. Kerry Washington urging people to vote.
Somebody needs to mute their thing.
On Donald Trump's shortlist as replacement of RGB.
Emma, could you mute everyone else except the speaker? Rotarian Alex, may we have the Loyal Toast, please?
To the
To the
Commonwealth of
Commonwealth
the
of the
Bahamas.
Bahamas.
To the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Okay, you heard me?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Villan, Director came on to welcome our visiting Rotarians.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another sunrise morning. I like to, I do not see any visiting Rotarians on the call at the moment, but I would like to send a special welcome to President Latoya from the Rotary Club of Nassau Sunset, and Donnelly Bo. I'm sorry, I am not familiar with everyone's title or clubs, but if you are a Rotarian, a special good morning to you as well. That is it, President Francis.
Thank you so very much. And now we'll ask our Rotarians to please welcome their guests. No guests this morning. Sergeant at Arms, fines and jokes, please.
Okay, how many people we have on? Do we know? Sounds like lots of people late.
We have 29 persons on at the moment.
29? Okay. Is the good Leon on? My favorite Rotarians, Leon, Cresswell, and Lavelle, are they all there?
Leon is there.
Oh, good. Leon?
Yes,
Good to hear you, man. You haven't called me for a little while. I sent you a joke and you didn't respond. Give me $5, please.
Okay, thank you.
Or else you still get the beard on, man. That's good. You're
It's
looking
my
like your
badge
dad
of honor.
now. That's your badge of honor. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you have on another badge of honor, your pin. Everybody without a pin, please give me $2. The treasurer said that it's difficult keeping track of people who are late, but we operating an honor system here. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? And so if you were late up to this point, you owe me $2. Everybody fined for that. And of course, later on, Madam President, please reiterate this fine that if you came in late, you owe the kitty $2. Those who didn't read their Bibles for the whole of yesterday, this is a kind of strange one, isn't it? Of course, if you're not Christian and you are another religion, if you needed to have read your holy book. If you didn't, then that should be at least $3. Felix?
Good morning.
You there?
I'm here.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
All right, you want to hail me for a little while. You got to give me $3 for that because you didn't look after your homeboy. That's okay? That's okay?
That's a cheap look after, but I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I coming back at you, see, so I don't want to do it all one time. Okay. Is Lavelle around? Lady said, "Oh, my sons are going to be plumbers." I said, "What do you mean?" Say, they never come when they are called. That one was for Lavelle. Is Cresswell around?
Father, that's you?
Huh?
Never mind. That joke.
Leroy?
Yeah, that joke was a little bit dirty, you know?
That wasn't dirty, eh? That was a clean one. I had a not so that one you could say that in Sunday school.
Okay.
He misunderstood the joke.
Said my sons are going to be plumbers. Why? Because they don't come when they are called. I guess that was meant for people like Lavelle. Oh, it said that Adam and Eve, they lived in paradise. How do you guess that? At least for Adam, because he did not have a mother-in-law. Perfect wedding.
Okay,
of course, everything went wrong.
That's a clean one.
You understand that one, right?
Yeah.
That's a cheap date at mothers-in-law. I see we have a walkover to another party. Vaughn Miller declared he was going to be PLP yesterday. How many people think that's a good idea? Put in $3. How many people think it's a bad idea? Put in $3 as well. Anybody who has no opinion on it, put in $3 as well. You must have some kind of opinion on these important national events. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, fellow Rotarians and guests, enjoy the rest of your day. Blessings.
Thank you, Father P. And now we'll invite Past President Diana Lynn to bring us the anniversaries and birthdays, please.
A very pleasant good morning, one and all. We have for the first quarter of our Rotary year, the birthday celebrants for July, August, and September. And that would include, if you can see your screen, President Francis, Mario, Leroy, Errol, Patano, Jackie, myself, Barrett, Eric, Melanie, and Ricardo, and Barry. So happy birthday to all of them. And coming up for the month of October on Saturday, we have our very own past president, Tanya Woodside. And we will be saying happy birthday to her on Saturday. Thank you very much, one and all.
Thank you, Past President Diana Lynn. And now we'll have the announcements. This morning, I'm here to inform you this year's nomination for President-elect takes place on October 22nd. Please ask the person whom you are nominating, get their permission before their names are put forward. Also, elections will take place on Thursday, November 5th of this year. And now I'll ask PAG Karen to bring an announcement, please.
Good morning, President Francis and fellow Rotarians. On behalf of IPP, Sophia, Director of the Foundation Committee, she wanted me to announce that we have launched our Top It Up, Step It Up drive to raise money for our foundation. Our foundation is considered our charity of choice. And the Rotary Foundation transforms your gifts into service projects that can change lives both close to home and around the world. Since it was founded more than 100 years ago, the foundation has spent more than $4 billion on life-changing, sustaining projects. With your help, we can make lives better in your community and around the world. What can your donation do? For as little as 60 cents, a child can be protected from polio. $50 can provide clean water to fight waterborne illnesses. And $500 can launch an anti-bullying campaign to create a safe environment for children. So the Top It Up and Step It Up drive is an effort to help all of our members become Paul Harris Fellows. A Paul Harris Fellow is a designation that recognizes, either through your own contributions or contributions made in your name, $1,000 has been contributed to the Rotary Foundation. Yesterday, those of you who have not yet received a Paul Harris Fellow would have received an email indicating how much you need to donate in order to become a Paul Harris Fellow. And this year, we're also encouraging payment plans. One was suggested in the email, and of course, others can be done based on terms that are convenient for you. So please reach out to myself or Sophia or our treasurer to see how you can make your donations. The easiest way is to do it online at rotary.org, or you can do it locally through payments to the club, and then the club will make the donation on your behalf. Thank you, and I look forward to your continued support of our charity of choice, the Rotary Foundation.
Thank you, PhD Karen. Are there any other announcements?
Yes, President Francis. I have an announcement on behalf of Director Janelle from the Literacy Committee. She's having a bit of a technical challenge right now, but she would like me to announce that we have a speech competition that is taking place this Saturday at 6 p.m. As well as a back to school leadership and empowerment seminar that begins at 2 p.m. on Saturday as well. I know that the flyers have been shared in the business group chat as well as on our social media pages. So for more information, you can check those out if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you too. Are there any other announcements? There being no other announcement, we'll move on to our guest speaker. Our topic this morning, education and skills development in an uncertain time. Our speaker this morning is Director of Labor, John Pinder. And now we'll invite A.G. Carla to do the introduction of the speaker, please.
Thank you, President Francis. Can I just confirm that Mr. Pinder is on? He might be on the device name. I'm not seeing.
I don't see him.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Let me go ahead and
Okay.
introduce. I thought he'd be on the device name because he's actually in Grand Bahama on his way to Nassau, on his way to the airport. So I know he's tasked, and I really want to thank him for that, for doing this for us this morning in any event. So it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce Mr. John Pinder. Mr. John Pinder was employed by the Bahamas government in 1981, where he took up the position of audit clerk in the audit department. He moved through the ranks to accountant and audit officer, and as supervisor for the revenue and expenditure section. Mr. Pinder became interested in the labor movement in 1982 when he joined the union as a member and was later elected shop steward. That's a position he held for 10 years. He also served as internal auditor for the union from 1996 to 1999. In 1999, he ran for the position of treasurer and was elected. However, Mr. Pinder was not satisfied with the direction of the union. And so in September 2002, he ran for the position of president and was successful. He was re-elected as president in 2005, 2008, 2011, and again in 2014. In 2003, he was elected president of the Caribbean Public Service Association and also served as first and second vice president 2004 to 2005. Additionally, he served as a member of the New Providence Housing Commission, the Health and Safety Committee of the International Labour Organization, 2005-2006. Mr. Pinder served as president for the National Congress of Trade Union of the Bahamas from 2006 to 2010, and then again in 2013 until 2016. He served as a member of the National Insurance Board from 2007 to 2010, and also a member of the National Health Insurance Council. Presently, he serves on the board of directors of the Education Loan Authority. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, a Bachelor of Law, and a master's degree in business administration. Mr. Pinder holds a diploma in certified anti-money laundering and a certificate in arbitration from the ILO. And I just want to tell you, at the beginning I said he's a friend. He's a friend of Rotary. I met him when we were doing the town hall, Hills Gap, which was a year ago. I'd spoken with the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, Minister of Education, speak about the concept and the panelists, and he said, you must get Mr. Pinder. What you all may not know is that I work with Mr. Pinder. We work on the same building. His staff knew me. I never knew him. I always saw him walking in very authoritatively, very connected with his staff. Once we met, he was very insightful and he said, what do you need? What does Rotary need? I will do it. And that's what he's doing this morning while he's on his way to the court. So he's a friend of Rotary. Allow me to introduce and please welcome Mr. John Pinder.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Stokes, for that. Thank you very much, Mrs. Stokes, for that kind introduction and for all your invites. Certainly, I want to say good morning to everybody listening, especially the Father Palacios. He's still around. Yes.
Yes, he is.
I know Father Palacios always wants to start.
Yes, I am
with a
here.
joke.
I am here. I didn't find you, but you could give me $5 when I see you next. In fact, I come into the office tomorrow.
Not a problem. You didn't say, and one of the choices you should have gave all of the above. So I would have given you $9.
All right. No, I still come in.
But let me also start off with a little joke. I don't know if Father heard this one yet. If you haven't heard this, you can add this to his collection of jokes. So a young man went to the airport and he was trying to get a ticket to go to Jeopardy. And so the lady at the ticket agency told him there was no flight going to Jeopardy. And she didn't know of any airline that would take him to Jeopardy. And so he insists that he must get to Jeopardy. And so the lady asked, well, why is it so important if you get to Jeopardy? We don't even know where that is. So then he read somewhere and he heard that there were a lot of jobs in Jeopardy, and so he needs to get to Jeopardy.
Okay, Mr. Pinder.
Well, you need the vibe.
I come into one of them jobs, okay?
Yeah. Once you get a Jeopardy, you'll get one of those.
Okay, man.
So again, to get back on track, I was asked to speak to first item on the agenda was the importance of education. And we know whatever time you need to be educated is now. I think we reached a point in life where one certificate or one trade or one just being able to do one task, you will not be able to sustain yourself. You may be able to survive in a workplace, but from a global perspective, we realize that one must be able to possess the necessary skills to survive in today's society. So we know for sure that when we look at education, we know education is that process that we have gone through, learning how to do certain things. Of course, you know, we start off learning how to read and learning how to count and learning how to listen. And there's several different ways of being able to educate yourself. I often remind people that before we could have read, we knew the Lord's Prayer, you know, the 23rd Psalms, and just about all your favorite songs, you know. You never really read them, you heard them, and you learned them just by hearing them over and over again. So we know the methods of learning to ensure that we are able to obtain a good education. One of the very important components to being able to educate yourself is to discipline yourself. And I think that is one of the problems we are faced with in the Bahamas as relates to persons who are educated sometime in terms of going to university, getting college degrees, university degrees, but they didn't discipline themselves enough to actually practice those core values of that education. So we find that sometimes you hear people getting caught in what we call white collar crime. Educated persons would have done such things. And then we realize that there are persons who did not discipline themselves in the classroom, and so they come out of school without certificates, and sometimes they don't even have a high school diploma. And for the most part, those are the persons in society that causes the most problems, because their level of thinking is not at the point where they're able to deal with conflict resolutions. And that often leads to chaos in our society. And so I dare say one of the biggest problems our society is faced with today is a lack of discipline. And to some extent, a number of persons in the society don't have the level of education for them to really be able to make the necessary right decisions as it relates to living and being able to deal with life issues, the challenges we are faced with in life. Oftentimes, because we lack education, we don't really handle those or deal with them in a manner that is satisfactory to society. So what we find is when we look at the second part of what I am to speak to, and let me just get it so I can read it as was presented, that would be the national programs that addresses skills, gaps in skills development. And I guess we can add that in the Bahamas. So we know from time immemorial, the Department of Labor used to have on the community page many years ago, they would have been able to announce and advise Bahamians as to where job vacancies was and the type of skills that was required by an employer for persons to gain some level of employment. As far back as 2012, the Bahamas government with the Inter-American Development Bank, in conjunction with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and the Employers Confederation, conducted a survey that confirmed that there were a large number of Bahamians students leaving schools who didn't have any skills or the necessary qualifications to gain employment. Since then, the Senator, the Honorable Dion folks had put a committee together in 2017 to address those type of issues as relates to the social ills in society. And coming out of that, they had already established the National Training Agency, but we also have a program called the Citizens and Justice Program, and that one was to identify young Bahamians who do not have the ability to even fill out a job application. They had challenges reading, had challenges with maths, and the two most important qualifications the employers normally ask for is English at the BJC or the BGCSE level, and mathematics. They like for you to be able to count, and they like for you to be able to read. And the government saw fit to put programs in place to address these challenges. So persons were identified, and they were able to go to the National Training Agency, and they were able to receive some level of training, which would have given them a certificate to present to an employer when they were seeking jobs, so that the employer would have known they went through some training and they had disciplined themselves enough to complete the program and could present something to the employer in the workplace. We find that a lot of the challenges as relates to what employers are looking for, mostly in the banking and financial services, the construction services, medical and allied services, IT, manufacturing, agriculture and fisheries. A lot of skills are lacking in these areas, and a lot of vacancies exist within these areas. And we find that too often parents like to encourage their kids to, just do what we call the big shot jobs, teachers. You want them to be nurses, doctors, lawyers, accountants. And oftentimes we don't realize the importance of having the skills for construction. So the Department of Labor is faced with a number of employers who are in the construction industry applying for labor certificates. The labor certificate leads to one getting a work permit to bring in foreign workers because we lack these skill sets. I was in Grand Bahama for the last 3 days and was trying as best I can to see how I can encourage employers to give Bahamians an opportunity to fill some of the vacancies, and most of them are skills: welders, sandblasters, and masons, and carpenters, and plumbers, and pipe fitters. A lot of them can do it, but not to the expectation of the employer, and sometimes they aren't disciplined enough to come to work in a timely fashion and disciplined enough to stay on a job. So the employer, for the most part, tries to persuade the Department of Labor them to be able to. They feel as though the form will stay on the job, and it's now in this, like this, especially after COVID, skills and new ways of doing business and get into the new way of living. I have been advising persons that are seeking jobs, persons who may lose their jobs. I've been advising of the importance of being able to multitask and being able to do more than just one thing. Not that I want to encourage the employer to exploit workers, but I recognize that these hard economic times, the employer, for the most part, will do all they can to get maximum production for the salaries they're going to pay the employee. So I try as best I can to encourage employees to go beyond the call of duty, especially during this kind of time, to ensure that they're able to maintain their jobs, sustain their jobs, and to cause the employer to not be in a position to make that decision to offer them a severance package or to terminate their services. Then we look at how Bahamians can strive during economic uncertainties. Well, again, we know that for the most part, the most attractive jobs now are the digital jobs, the care jobs, the blue jobs, and the green jobs. Let me start with the green jobs. From time immemorial, we've been talking about how do we go about keeping a clean, safe environment, and how do we go about feeding ourselves. Most of the farming comes under the green jobs. And so we believe that the time has come for Bahamians to recognize the importance of growing organic food. One of the ways I think in which we can tap into this rough economy right now is to be able to provide organic food for persons. Everybody want to eat healthy. Everybody needs to build a strong immune system now. The fight this COVID-19 that we are faced with, this world pandemic, that we find ourselves fighting off, and we don't know when COVID-20 coming or what's going to be the next thing. You know, one time ago you had the cold and it was okay. Then the cold moved to the flu. Then the flu moved to pneumonia. Then pneumonia moved to tuberculosis. Now tuberculosis is gone to COVID-19. So what's coming next? We know one thing, a strong immune system can fight off various viruses. But one of the ways in which you do it, you have to eat properly and exercise regularly. What you eat is very important. And oftentimes you'll go into food store and you may buy fruits and you think, well, I'm buying fruits. And so this is one of the things that is important to your diet. But how are those fruits grown? How are they harvested is what's also important. We in the Bahamas have the ability to grow organic fruits without having to put too much of those foreign pesticides and all the rest of that into the farming of fruits and vegetables in the Bahamas. So I like to encourage Bahamians to look at the amount of money that is spent on the importation of fruits and vegetables and try to show we can pool our resources, especially those persons who will receive separation packages, that they can pool their resources and see how they get into farming. And then I've also been trying to encourage the government to put some favor on persons who want to get into farming. For example, I think one of the things that doesn't make farming attractive, sexy, is the fact that one has to farm for a period of time before the crops mature and before they can harvest those crops. And so you may find yourself 6, 8 months, sometimes even 12 months before you can really yield your crops. And during this time, you still have to pay for farm laborers. You still have to maintain your farm with fertilizing and watering and all the rest of that sort of thing. So I believe it's kind of hard for farmers who don't have large capital to get started. I believe we need to do more things to make it easier for persons to get into farming. And one of the things we must show them is the amount of revenue that is derived from farming. Then I go to fishing, which is one of the blue jobs, in addition to the marine jobs. For years, you would have heard various ministers for agriculture and fisheries speak to the fact that there are miles and miles of sea in the Bahamas that has not been fished. Persons haven't been able to cover those grounds. And that's why we have a lot of Dominicans and other foreign nationals approaching in Bahamian waters, being able to cover all the sites. And sometimes they know the seas better than we do. I have spoken to one of and I brought him into the Bahamas and introduced him to the Minister of Agriculture, one of the leading producers of meat, fish, and poultry in the United States, who had actually indicated that he was prepared to spend as much as $10 million a month on buying fish, poultry, meat in the Bahamas. And we just don't have the market for it. So we see there's more demand for organic food than it is supply. And I believe the Bahamas has a good opportunity to tap into that. So persons who are in a position financially to get into fishing, I think is a low risk investment, in that you're normally warned when a hurricane is coming or when the seas can be rough, so you don't take your vessels out. Outside of that, it's only a matter of security from the fence force for your protection against people who may be approaching. But for the most part, I look at the fishing industry as a low risk one. As a matter of fact, it's lower risk than even farming, because you know the floods can come and the hurricanes can come and can destroy your crops. But you go on your fishing boat, you get back in, when you hear the weather gonna be bad, you kind of bring your vessel to safety. So I try to encourage Bahamians to get into those jobs. The digital jobs, But we see the pandemic has surely shown us that most people are now shopping online. And I don't know if we have sufficient companies in the Bahamas that recognize that the United States, even though they've been closed down, they've still been able to, Walmart and all the rest of them have still been able to offer some goods and services over the internet. So you can still buy your necessary supplies and have it shipped to some area, and persons can then have them imported into the Bahamas. But I think the local merchants here, when we were shut down, and I think we still ain't back 100% yet, should have looked at the possibility of online shopping. I don't know how many persons have done it. I think 1 or 2 persons have, but you still see long lines, even at the water depots. I think there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to look at how they could sit with a business owner and cause them to be some level of online shopping, and simultaneously call for more places to get into the delivery services. I think Bahamians don't mind spending an extra $5 or $10 to avoid those long lines and the long waits. So those are some opportunities we can get into as we face these hard economic times and try as best we can to sustain ourselves. I will want to wrap up by saying this. Again, I think we have to also look at how best to reduce the amount of work permits that are issued in the Bahamas. For the most part, the laborers who are 90% Haitian nationals get most of the work permits. There are a number of Chinese who always hire cooks and they always hire laborers. They like to bring their own people in. Construction persons still are hiring a number of persons, even at the laborers level, the semi-skilled level, because they always blame Bahamians for not being disciplined enough to come to work on time and give them 5.5 days work, or in some cases 6 days work. And they definitely don't like to work overtime. So they prefer to bring in non-Bahamians. Then we look at the fact that oftentimes if an employer wants to, especially in the financial industry, if they want to bring in a particular financial controller or some accountant or some internal auditor, they normally would advertise these positions at a very low salary, knowing full well professionals around the world, and indeed the Bahamas, wouldn't take a financial controller job for $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year. But they would pay $20,000 for the work permit, but they would not add that to the base salary to say, well, let me offer you $56,000 or $66,000 per annum. Then you add the fact that they have to provide housing and insurance and transportation, all the rest of that. So I believe we have to try to change the mindset of employers in this country to give Bahamians an opportunity to prove themselves and to ensure that for the most part, Bahamians is preserved first and foremost for Bahamians. So I would like for the Rotary to use the influence to cause employers to understand that we got to build a Bahamas with Bahamians. And one of the ways to keep money in the economy is to employ Bahamians. We ain't got no place. We home, and even if you do an investment elsewhere, the money will still come back to the Bahamas. So if we can influence or use your influence to, even as you ask the employer to hire Bahamians, we need to also encourage Bahamians to be disciplined enough to give a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. And I believe that is the way in which we can build a better Bahamas and get through these hard economic times and to be able to fight off this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director of Labor, John Pinder. And now we'll ask Director Leon to bring the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Director John Pinder, on behalf of President Francis and the members of the Sunrise Club of Nassau, I want to thank you first for carving out time out of your busy schedule on the way to the airport in Freeport to deliver this insightful message to us this morning on the topic of education and skills development for uncertain times. Thank you for reminding us of the importance of good education and the importance of discipline in our core values, and also updating us on what the government is doing to upgrade the skills of Bahamians in the various skills of construction, sandblasting, welding, etc. You also advised us on multitasking, how relevant it is in this pandemic times, and for the update on the green jobs, farming, the blue jobs, fishing, and the digital jobs, and reminding us of the importance of your job of trying to reduce the issuance of work permits. On a personal note, Brother Pinder, tomorrow will mark 12 years ago, 2008. Like you, I was on the way to the airport to go to Freeport to speak at the Rotary Club of Lucaya. When my daughter called me from Atlanta to tell me my son was dying. And at the funeral in Freeport, you, as president of the union, along with a number of presidents, Keith Archer, Robert Farquharson, you all came down to Grand Bahama to attend the funeral. So I want to thank you personally, again, publicly, for your friendship and your relationship with me. Again, on behalf of President Francis, I would like to thank you for carving out time and for your insightful speech this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, too.
Thank you, Mr. Pinder, and have a pleasant flight.
All right, I'll see you over the line in Nassau. My brother, it'd be good if we can hook up. Like to see you.
Okay, yeah, we will.
Yeah, so on a social distancing, you could take us for lunch, eh?
I thought I could drop you some lunch to the gate. Right to the fence when I pass.
Hey, I can't tell Leon you went to Freeport to support him because of all that trouble you used to give him when you were in the union on the other side.
No, he was Archdeacon. He was a good friend. He helped me a lot. He helped me to save national strikes. Him and Faki.
Yeah.
They both helped me a lot. And Keith Archer.
Well, you
I had a very good relationship with John.
Yeah. Okay.
Madam President, I know we take questions, but I'm hearing the dialogue. I don't know Mr. Pinder's schedule, but
one of my men. Even though he was
I think he's trying to talk.
Amen.
But he's
breaking up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I've seen that.
Are there any questions?
Okay.
Mr. Pinder, before you leave us?
Oh, you have questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You often hear people talking now about the need, indeed the desirability of diversification of the economy. And we know that's not a very easy thing to do. But what I often suggest to people, and I'm sure you would have suggested too, Mr. Pinder, and for all of us to consider, you can't diversify the economy, but you are responsible for diversifying your own skill set so that some of the skills that you mentioned, people could take them up. Last week or the week before, we had the president of BTVI talking about the many options that are there. I urge people, whenever I speak to groups and stuff, diversify yourself, diversify your own skills, become a specialist in your area. In other words, if you're going to do business administration, don't just do that. Take a language with it so that whenever there's a redundancy issue, the boss looks down, what does this person have to offer that the others don't? If we don't do that and stop complaining about the government ain't doing, seeing that we are our own we have a responsibility for our own improvement, then I think we would go a long way. As far as fishing is concerned, and you know, you and I have been fishing a couple of times, but people like the Chinese and others, they work faster and very often they work harder. Let's face it, we Bahamians need to adopt a better work ethic if we are going to make it in this competitive world. Thank you.
Hello, you back?
Are you still on, Brother Pinder?
Yeah, sorry, I saw I was reconnecting. Let me endorse what Brother Father Felicia has said, but I think for the most part, when Bahamians hear about diversification of our economy, what comes to their mind is a new source, a new way of finding new revenues. That's what they normally think about when they hear about diversification of the economy. So they just keep looking at the fact that we have been depending on tourism for a very long time as a number one industry. I guess fishing and farming somewhere there in the second and third. Well, banking used to be number two, and then farming and fishing. So they look at other ways in which we could diversify the economy by being able to create new streams of revenues. And so now a lot of emphasis has been placed on the natural resources. Persons are thinking that we ought to have tapped into our natural resources to come up with a new stream of revenue. So Arugula is the number one thing we talk about. We know salt is there. There's some other natural resources. Now, the former government put the sovereign trust fund, I think, in place, or sovereign fund in place, as relates to us being able to benefit from the natural resources. They think the problem is they never put regulations in place, and they didn't really name all the natural resources, because the airspace is a part of your natural resources too. How do Bahamians benefit from all the natural resources? So I think the time has now come for us to look at those natural resources, list them, and see how we can best get revenues from them as a new stream of income for the country.
You were talking earlier, Brother Pinder, and you were gobbling. I don't think you were connected. So I hope you didn't say anything important that we missed.
What did you hear? What part you caught?
This is the first time we are hearing you speak now, but between my last comment to you about my son and in between there.
Okay. So what I was saying is I endorsed Father Palatia's statement.
We got that. No,
you got that. Okay. And the only other thing I spoke about the natural resources, you got that?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. That's fine.
If I may, as a follow-up to Father Palatius's comment and the director's response, Director, how do people respond when you ask them to diversify their skills? So I understand that we're looking for a diversified economy, but to use the same skills. How have you found the response from persons when you indicate that perhaps a good thing would be to diversify their skills?
Well, when I speak to workers one-on-one, they're able to understand the importance of multitasking and being able to diversify their skills. Oftentimes, because of trade unions, industrial agreements that speak to one clear job description, there's some challenges. And so we got to bring the trade union on board to understand that there's a new way of doing business. The way of doing business in the 20th century, you got to move up now to the 21st century. So too often the trade union movement sticks to their guns as relates to what is in the industrial agreement and what is on the worker job description. But I had an opportunity to actually got a number of my members on the President Union at the airport authority to understand that if they didn't multitask, the authority was about to outsource the positions. And so I sold it to them, and they understood it. They took it, and I think they're doing pretty good. So they were receptive in some cases. The Whigs are receptive to it, but not necessarily trade union movement.
Thanks for that insight. So the next discussion then has to be with the trade union movements, labor
Yes.
union.
Yes, yes, and they have to understand, you know, that the way we did business in the past, it just ain't the same now. You know, it is not the same. We live in a global market now. You got to protect your jobs, not just from Bahamians. Again, you know, the leap of wage permits keep coming up, and that's just the way it is.
Thank you.
Can I just add a quick comment, Mr. Pinder? Thanks for your presentation this morning. This is Bob Robertson from BTVI and a member of the Rotary Club. We're about to announce a series of short certified courses in specific trades, and I'll be sending you a note about this in the next couple of days. These courses will assist people to, you know, become carpenters and plumbers and electricians with a certification, and we will be able to do this in a very focused and short period of time, which I think is also one of the challenges we have. Most educational entities have traditionally followed a pattern which doesn't fit with the student of today. And so we're going to be announcing this and making a really big effort to skill up some Bahamians, particularly in Grand Bahama and Abaco, but we will be coming to you with this information, and obviously the Minister of Labor as well. These will be scholarship positions, so there'll be no cost associated with it to the student per se, but I think this will also go a long way to addressing the concerns that you've raised this morning, sir. Thank you for your comments.
Very good. I'm very excited to hear that. I would hope that you can have a conversation, if you're not already done so, with the shipyard, the container port, and the quality service center over here. They're the ones that normally ask for the bulk of the welders and the sandblasters and the pipe fitters and those skills that they claim Bahamians aren't making the mark on. So they often accuse Bahamians of not being trained on the cutting edge of technology. So while you may have a welder, they normally challenge the fact that he doesn't know how to use the modernized equipment. So it'll be good if you haven't, to make sure we get a conversation with them, so that our Bahamian students are trained on the cutting edge of technology and are able to meet the requirements that they normally ask for.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. And now we'll move on to the raffle. Director came up. May we have the raffle, please?
Hey, put me down for raffle, please. Put me down, $10.
Put me down for raffle, $10. Leon.
Count it again. Count it. Spin it again.
That's the priest pushing for the wine?
Aye. Oh, that's wine today. That's the price.
Good comeback. Good comeback. Good comeback.
Okay.
2 bottles of wine.
You don't want to see a high priest, so I wouldn't bother. You keep the wine.
Congratulations, PAG Karen. I believe we may have lost President Francis. I see her screen is blank. but we'll move on to the polling test by Rotarian Charis.
One moment before we move on. I wish to make another announcement for the benefit of those Rotarians that came in late as it relates to the nomination of President-elect 2022-23. Nominations will take place on October the 22nd. Kindly ask the person's permission before you put the name forward. Thank you. And now we'll have Rotarian Therese to bring the forward.
Are the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build
goodwill and better friendship?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Be beneficial to all concerned.
And most importantly, is it fun?
Is it fun?
But not battle for it, yes.
No. Amen. Thank you.
The final toast, past President Jackie.
To Rotary around the world.
Rotary around the world.
Rotary around the world.
Oh, Madam President, one minute, please. You remember I had asked that, I know I shouldn't be speaking now, but we're trying to raise some funds for the club. Those who came in late, this is an honor system. Please notify the treasurer and put in your $3 fine. Thank you.
Welcome back, Jerice Cresswell.
Yeah.
Cresswell,
I just spoke. $1 fine just spoke.
And this morning, I'd like to recognize Mr. Ellsworth, past President Donnelly and Simone Bowe. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to see you. Thank you all for coming and have a blessed day.
Rotary around the world.
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 So Madam President. Madam President.
Sorry, PDG.
Question
Yes, go ahead.
Question about your nominations. You're nominating the president-elect on the which date?
October 22nd.
Now, didn't the club adopt a nomination process some time ago under President Jackie's reign? Are we doing away with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'll speak with you online.
Okay.
Offline, sorry.
I agree, that's correct though.